Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. We are here recording episode number 131, and today we are discussing how to maximize your time abroad or even your trip abroad. So we're looking forward to it. This episode is all about stretching the limits and making sure you can get the most out of your time abroad or your trip. And I'm hoping to use some of these examples today to help maximize my time here in Jinan. So we're looking forward to bringing you some tips, and we hope you all enjoy this episode. My fellow buddy who enjoys to stretch the limit of travel and language learning, my buddy Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hello. That's true. I do like to stretch the limit. You know, Chad, I never want to leave a vacation and have this feeling. Damn it. All right,
feel like a good guy?
Here's the deal. Well, okay. No. I got to do this. We'll take this from the top. Yeah, Chad. You know, I never want to leave a trip and have and feel like I missed out on that thing I really wanted to do.
Milde Moses.
Oh, dang.
Very nice.
Milde Moses. It doesn't transfer over to I have multiple soundboards here. It's a whole technological mess. Hey, everyone, please. Spread a little love.
Spread a little love.
Follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. Follow us on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. Follow us on, email us, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. I'm still so mad about that drop. Oh, man. Or you can give us 5-star reviews, please. Spread a little love on iTunes and Stitcher. And you can also check out our website, untranslatablepodcast.com. There's always fun things going on. Today, Chad's right. We're going to talk about maximizing vacations. You know, the best way to really get the most out of your vacation and not stress about getting the most out of your vacation. Chad, stumbled upon an interesting vacation situation, and I want to know how you would feel about this. This is what I do on Twitter during my days.
Let's hear it.
I stumbled upon this. It's a travel experience so unique that it only takes place during 1 month each year. A Finnish luxury travel company is set to open a movable hotel at the North Pole that offers a rare and eco-conscious experience for the adventure travelers. For up to a 5-night stay. So it's sort of like you have up to 5 nights, but it only happens once a month. The North Pole Igloos is slated to welcome its finest guest in 2020 and will operate every April. The experience is the brainchild of Jana Hankanen, founder and chief executive of Luxury Action, a high-end travel company specializing in Arctic excursions. Hankanen said guests at the company's luxury wilderness lodge in the Finnish Lapland region we're increasingly interested in knowing more about the nature in the Arctic. So you do like tours of the Arctic. Apparently they introduce you to like locals as well, which I don't know, seems interesting. It seems a little zoo-ish to me, but also
yeah, just a little bit.
I mean, maybe they're in on it, I guess. Maybe if they're in on it, I guess it's not. But also, it's also a little reminiscent of it's just like to look at all the beautiful lights and colors. Would that interest you? Do you like how that sounds?
Absolutely.
Would you, honestly, though, would you
really cool.
pay money to take who knows how many planes you have to take, one of them the last one being a terrifying rickety plane, to get onto the North Pole? Would that be an interesting trip to you to see the North Pole for 5 days? It sounds cool, but would you pay for it? Let's put it that way.
I tell you what, if money was not as much of an issue right now in my life, for sure, I would definitely do it. Right now, trying to pinch my pennies, so probably not. But in the future, if I was balling out, if we sold our untranslatable Ferrari, I would definitely use some of that money to take a trip.
See, I don't like where this is going. You clearly are showing your hand. I was trying to reveal the price later, but it seems like you know the price.
I mean, I can only imagine that's got to be very expensive.
All right,
because
I'm
gonna. I have no idea.
For 5 nights. 5 nights in
5 nights
in the North Pole in these like sort of luxury sort of yurt-looking things, but there are obviously climate-controlled, so you're not going to freeze your ass off, and you can live in. And it's like a hotel room, like a small hotel room size. I don't see a bathroom, but there must be.
Because you just go outside, buddy. You're in the North Pole, free reign.
Yeah, but your pee's going to freeze, like, before it even leaves your hole.
That's true. That's true. How much would it cost? If we're just talking about the hotel stay, I would guess.
No, it's all inclusive. You're in the freaking
all inclusive.
You're in the Arctic. Where else are you going for dinner? And
10. That's true. 10 grand. I'm gonna say 10 grand.
10 grand. See, this is exactly why you're not going on this trip.
20 grand.
You're proving my point by every guess. With every guess, you're proving my point more and more.
30 grand.
110 grand.
Oh, holy crap.
Yeah. To stay in the Arctic, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not going to pay that. even if I had that, I wouldn't pay that. I would much rather spend 100 grand doing other things, that's for sure.
Imagine if you spent 100 grand on a full, like, Euro trip. You could do, like... You could do, like, 20 countries.
I mean, I think you could probably see all of South America for under 100 grand easily and still ball out.
Oh, for sure. And still have enough to put in a nice little savings account when you get back.
That's really interesting, though. 100 grand. Yeah, that's pretty pricey. That's pretty pricey.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Also, like, this sort of stuff just seems like who you like. It's just like for ballers that want to remind people. It's like the same kind of people that have already booked their flight for like the first commercial trip to space or something like that. It's like, what are you proving here? We get it. You're rich and you're better than us. That's okay. But
oh man, that's crazy expensive.
I'll consider it for like $500.
I can't even imagine. I would rather do a world trip for 100 grand than a 5-night stay. It'd be cool to see the North Pole. Don't get me wrong, but I think there are ways you could do it so you don't have to drop 100 grand.
Odd use of your money to me.
Right, I would agree. I think that is definitely a trip for people, like you said, Jared, where money is more or less no object to them. Or they can just spend it and ball out however they want. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's more just like at the next dinner party, see who had the craziest vacation story. Oh yeah, well I summer in the Arctic.
Exactly. Get out their $2.5 million bottle of wine and discuss their Arctic trip over it. Yeah,
this is a 1979 Chablis that we had in the Arctic. This is the filet mignon with lobster we had in the Arctic. There are
with some gold sprinkles on top.
It was lovely.
Yeah. Oh man.
Very
that's
nice
so
lights
crazy.
in the sky, I hear.
Right. Oh man. That's pretty wild, man. I can't imagine.
Yes.
That might be a fun future episode though, Jared, is to look at some of the most expensive and the most and some of the cheaper vacations.
Yes.
And that would be a fun episode.
We've already done cheap. We've done budget trips. We've done not like budget attractions though.
Right.
I want to do. Who knows? I'm more interested in the most expensive like vacations.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. That's for sure. Absolutely. Well, Jared, I've been trying to give you updates here and there about what's been going on in China. And
I love
yesterday
your updates.
I explored a new area near where I live. I actually walked around this area the first day I was here. And I tell you what, I went into a new restaurant last night. It was like it was kind of cool. It had Arabic writing on the front. It had Chinese, but also gold and black and gold Arabic writing. And it was a halal restaurant. And there is a minority here in China that are Muslim. And I don't know. See, I don't know if this minority actually speaks Arabic or they speak Chinese and Arabic. I don't know enough about the minority to tell you.
Or is this like a marketing thing?
It could also be that way too. It's hard to say.
Right.
But I went in there and the first thing was, the reason why I kind of went in there was last night I wasn't feeling super adventurous in the fact that I wanted to go to a place where everything would be in Chinese and I would have to depend solely on my Google Translate app. So this place had big pictures, and not only did it have big pictures, but it had the Chinese and then the English equivalent below it.
Oh, wow.
So
You're
so I
definitely
knew what I was
yes.
getting. Yeah. And so I had some really, really good. It was like a beef dish with peppers and mushrooms, and it came on rice, and it was absolutely delicious. It was also really cheap. I paid 16 RMB, which is, I don't know, probably $2 or $3. Probably about $2.
Okay,
and
I'll take your word for it.
And the dish was big enough
very
where
good.
nice. And the dish was big enough where I ate half of it and took the other half home, and they gave me a free soup with it, which was kind of cool. Soup was really good, and it was a nice place, and they had a lot of really good dishes. And I will tell you, this is the first place I've been where I have gotten food that wasn't Western food, that it wasn't actually greasy. So I think I have found my new place because it's very near my apartment. So I'm excited to kind of have a place where I can go in, and there's a bunch of dishes I want to try that look really good. And like I said, for $2 a dish or $2.70 something a dish, I might even just go in there and get 2 or 3 dishes and bring them home, and that be my meals for a couple of days.
Do you have a microwave?
I do have a microwave. I have a microwave, a toaster oven, and a stove with 2 burners on it. So, yeah, no oven, though, which makes me a little sad because I was definitely using the oven all the time in the Czech Republic.
Yeah, how can you not have an oven? That seems like a staple.
Well, I have a toaster oven.
Yeah, but
but no
how big
oven
is it?
oven.
Like, could you put like a frozen pizza in there?
Well, so funny story, Jared. I've made frozen pizzas the last couple of days. Well, haven't made. I've heated frozen pizzas the last couple of days.
I make pizza, freeze it, then put it in the oven and
That's
cook it
right.
again.
Exactly. Why cook it when you make it? You know, it's so much better to freeze everything and reheat it. And so, but the frozen pizzas here are like a small size personal pan pizza. And I have an inkling that I think a lot of Chinese people don't have an oven and they have a toaster oven. Or the ovens they might have might be even smaller than our traditional ovens in the States.
Now that would definitely make sense. That would because in general we have bigger everything than everyone for some reason.
That is true. That is true. So yeah, so but yeah, so I was excited to try that new place out, and then afterwards I went to this bubble tea place. I've been trying out all different kinds of bubble tea. And there was this one bubble tea I got yesterday that was like a green tea and mint, and oh man, it was so good. So delicious. So
speaking of which, I had matcha for the first time the other day because you told me you loved matcha.
And
they asked if I wanted iced or hot matcha. I said hot. And I'm glad because I don't understand how people could drink iced matcha. It seems like it would be gross. It was good.
Oh, it's delicious.
It was good, but it's very it's good until you hit like a little ball of matcha and you bite into it. That's not good.
Oh, that's true. Well, they didn't grind it maybe fine enough then.
Yeah, I was telling my dad about this the other day. He said he's never had matcha without. Well, granted, he's making it at home, but he's never been able to make it without getting a little balls in there of matcha. Listen, I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
It's not bad, though. It was just interesting.
When I get it frozen, though, it's also blended. So maybe try it frozen, and it'll be blended.
I got it from a coffee shop.
Well, that's usually where I go. You can go to a few
I see what you're
different
saying.
ones.
You get it frozen like a frappuccino.
Like a frappuccino. Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Try a matcha frappuccino.
All right.
It might be a little. At least you shouldn't have any matcha balls in theory because it's being
in a blender.
Torn up by a blender.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so funny though, dude. When I ordered my bubble tea, the guy said something to me in Chinese, and I kind of looked at him, and he goes, "Cold?" I'm like, "Yeah, cold." And so I get it cold, right, and it's still hot. Like literally, it's just he used less hot water than usual.
Oh, okay.
It was still hot because the Chinese, I think, at least one of my colleagues was telling me that younger Chinese people don't care as much, but older Chinese people really do not like drinking cold anything. Like if you go to restaurants in China, I don't think it's. I think they think it's bad for your health. Like I know people in Germany as well who, when they see me like ask for like ice cubes for my drink, they're like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
I think they think it's bad for your stomach. But there's actually been some research done because I remember my dad arguing with with my German uncle Dieter about this, that like they've done research that shows that more or less foods or drinks, either in hot or cold temperatures, unless it's really extremely hot or extremely cold, it tends to get to your stomach roughly around the same temperature. Or at least when you're digesting it, it's usually around the same temperature. But I'm no doctor, so don't.
But isn't there thinking that you're getting like you're like essentially killing any of the bacteria by heating it up?
Yeah, but they don't.
Or avoiding bacteria by not putting ice in it.
But see, I think it depends on.
Listen,
I think yes and no.
Neither of us know what we're talking about here.
Right.
Let's be honest.
I think traditionally speaking, I think you're probably right. But I think actually that could be maybe why that is. But I'm not sure. I'll ask
like
a
to talk
couple of
to
my
your dad.
Chinese colleagues.
Give him my number and tell him let's talk.
All right. I will.
All right. But before
yeah.
we do that, please, can we turn this train around and spread a little love?
Absolutely. Do you have any shout-outs? I'm
Shout out
assuming
to
you don't.
Okay. All I was gonna say was shout out to the homies in the streets, keeping it real.
That's fair. Shout-outs to the homies, and then I have two shout-outs. My first shout-out, I'm going to butcher this guy's name, this doctor's name. But my first shout-out goes to a doctor from the Democratic Republic of Congo named Jean-Jacques Muyembe Tamfum, and he has found what they are calling the first ever cure for the Ebola virus since the disease first hit. Thousands of research scientists around the world have been studying it and trying to come up with a cure, but a doctor from the African Congo who lives at the heart of the epidemic is really the one who made the first breakthrough. And so now the only thing I'm skeptical about is the way this article wrote this. It's a little weird. They said, what has been called the first ever cure in quotation marks. So I'm not really sure what they mean by that, if it's a cure or not.
Well, that's what my first question was going to be like, has this been like, I mean, I'm not getting the sense that this has been proven. Is this just some guy that's like, I did it?
Well, here, I'll give you a little bit more info, Jared. And this is all I got from the article. So, Dr. Tamfun had been a part of a clinical trial of 4 experimental Ebola treatments carried out in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but the trial was stopped early after 2 of them showed strong signs of being able to save patients' lives. So during clinical trials, this has worked as a cure. So I'm not really sure about how all the clinical trials and everything work, but basically the 2 treatments that were able to cure people will be made widely available and could help the year-long outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And this is a crazy well, maybe it's not, I'm not sure, but apparently in Congo there have been 1,800 people who have died of Ebola in the Congo. So I think it's really great that they are making strides forward, and we want to send lots of love to the Dr. Jean-Jacques Muyembe Tamfum. So thank you for all of your hard work. Yeah. Ebola, which is awesome. My next shout out goes out to the country of Denmark, because they have raised about 2.67 million we've done shout outs like these before, for planting trees. So there was a telethon described as the world's first climate focused telethon, and for every 20 Danish kroner.
Telethons?
Apparently.
Who's watching TV that much?
They were able to raise $2.67 million though, Jared. So I think that's pretty great.
That's true. That's not nothing.
Right. And so for every 20 Danish kroner, which is the equivalent of 270 pounds or $3 donated, 1 tree is to be planted, and 20% of the total donations will be marked for forest conservation efforts in the Scandinavian country. So I think this is really amazing, and that's
Shout
really
out to
great.
telethons.
Right. Shout out to telethons and to Denmark.
Who knew?
And now, Jared, I remember I scared you quite a bit a while ago when I told you that, climate change not only is a big issue, but it could potentially be irreversible.
Yeah, you do that
Jared,
lot.
Right. I like to scare you and worry you, spread some of this worry around. But I will tell you this, Jared. There is one study that is showing that if we plant 1 trillion trees around the world, it could actually stop climate change. Well, I mean, if you think about it, you've had a couple countries, plant in the upper millions. If we had every country in the world do that, we might be able to hit 1 trillion. Maybe not. Maybe I vastly underestimate how big 1 trillion is.
We just need to get a cargo plane to carpet bomb the world
with 3 seats. That's right. That's right. That's the only kind of carpet bombing I can approve of, Jared, so I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Oh, my gosh. That's our slogan here at the Untranslatable Podcast.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean...
Or even better, Jared, carpet bomb tree seeds, but in the bag it has the logo of the Untranslatable Podcast.
Yes, I like that.
I can really get down on that. That's for sure. Oh my gosh.
My husband got hit in the head with a bag of seeds. Someone help.
What's this Untranslatable Podcast?
I've been looking for a new podcast for my commute to work.
Right. We better make sure we have a really good lawyer on deck. That's for sure. That is for sure.
Hey, listen, we're just on the bag. We have nothing to do with the delivery method.
That's true.
That's not part of the contract.
We're not the messenger. We're just the podcast.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And all publicity is good publicity.
That's true. According to Gene Simmons of Kiss, that is true. Well, Jared, I'm wondering if you happen to know what time it is.
I know exactly what time it is. It's time for the Untranslatables. According to this untranslatable owl right here. So listen to our idioms, sayings, proverbs, and help us try to decipher them.
Absolutely. Mind if I get us started, Jared?
Please. Do you have a chungia for us?
I do, but I'm going to start us off with a French one. Okay. Because I was thinking it might be kind of cool to do some untranslatables that are somewhat related to the shoutouts, and they do speak French in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I tried to find specific untranslatables from the Congo. I'm not as skilled, I would say, as you are at finding unique untranslatable. So these are just a couple French ones. But maybe they do use these in the Congo.
I do. Really, all it does is take a weirdly long amounts of time typing it interesting. Listen, it's an art. You're right. Please go ahead.
Yep. So my first one for you is French, and it is avoir le cafard, which means to have the cockroach.
You never let me guess.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
I have another French one that I'll let you guess later.
Oh, thanks. To have the cockroach. Is it like to have a sickness you can't get rid of? Or like to have a frog in your throat?
I would say to have a cockroach, it's not necessarily related to sickness, but I would say you could say, yeah, I'm sick, I have a cockroach. Or, yeah, my girlfriend of 10 years just dumped me, I have a cockroach. I just failed my final exam, I have a cockroach.
I'm just depressed.
There you go. Hit that ham horn, my man. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, basically to be down in the dumps is the English one that we would say, the English equivalent.
All right. My first one is Hausa, and it's spoken in Nigeria and other countries as well, but Nigeria is one of them, and I think this is where this comes from, if I'm not mistaken. Ba domin twaso akanga wataba. And that literally, do you know what it means? I'm going to let you guess.
I don't know what that means, no. I know it's hard to believe, Jared.
The moon is not seen because of great stature.
The moon is not seen because of great stature.
Yeah.
My first guess would be it's just everyone's equal.
No, you kind of say this to someone. Get
off your high horse?
Yeah, I'll give you that. There you go.
All right.
But it really
Right.
means like anyone can do it. But that's essentially what it means. It's like get off your high horse, anyone can do it. Is really what get off
Right.
your high horse means.
Right. Okay. That's right, Jared. Get off your high horse with your untranslatable research skills.
No. Not anyone can do this. Because if so,
That's true.
other people would
That's
do
true.
this. You find me a
That is
better
true.
untranslatable based podcast, and I'll tell you you're a liar.
That's fair. That's fair. Good call. My next one for you is a Chengyu, and this one is Jin Jin, Jin Jin Yo Wei, which means, it literally means
Something about
to eat something deliciously.
Okay.
To eat something deliciously.
Is it like to revel in victory?
Not quite. That's a
It's
good
like,
guess, but not
ooh,
quite.
It feels good to watch everyone lose as I win.
Not quite. Well,
Your tears are
I mean,
delicious.
I would say, Jared, you definitely do love reveling in victory. So maybe I'll half give it to you.
Okay.
I would say, let me try to think of an example. I mean, the thing is, this can be used as food, but used related to food. But this can also mean, like, I would say I eat anything guitar related very deliciously.
Oh, okay. It's like you eat it up because you're like you can never get enough of it.
Exactly. It's just something you really love,
Okay.
or an activity you really enjoy. Absolutely.
All right. My next one is Korean, and it's Kwiga Yalbda, and it literally means thin ears.
Is this
Tin
like you have?
ears.
Is this like you're kind of you don't take constructive criticism very well?
No, but that makes sense.
Okay.
No.
Doesn't mean you're sensitive.
You're sensitive. No, not really. No. But it
Okay.
does mean you don't take something well. Something that someone says to you. Let's put it that way.
You don't take advice very well.
No, that's not really a great example. So,
No.
what if I told you like, hey, dude, earlier today, I've been meaning to run. I wanted to. I've been meaning to get back into it. It's been a while. Today, out of nowhere, I just ran like a marathon. Turns out it's pretty easy. And I was like, and I ate like cheesecake beforehand. It was delicious. And I was like, this seems like a good thing to eat before I run a marathon. And then
It's a great idea.
Chad, are like, no way. And you like, you can't do that. I was like, are your legs sore? I was like, nah, dude, I feel great actually. He's like, you're like, what? And you have very thin ears.
So you can't handle exaggerations, or I'm not
What is
sure.
it
Give
called
to
when
me.
you can't handle exaggerations, Chad? You can't handle exaggerations.
I don't know.
If someone is exaggerating and you believe it, you can't handle exaggerations because you're. Wow, Chad. Listen, gullible.
I don't. Oh, gullible. Duh. Okay, gullible. Okay.
I was like,
So
I feel like,
gullible after not being
I'm
able to
giving
get that
this
one.
to you.
Right. Okay, Jared, my last one for you today is French, and I will let you guess this one. It is avoir le colbord de nuit.
To have something at night. To have something of night.
I butchered that last word, I guess. It is to have the ass surrounded by noodles.
To have the ass surrounded by noodles. To have your ass, like my ass surrounded by noodles? Whose ass is surrounded by noodles?
It says to have the ass surrounded by noodles.
To have the ass surrounded by noodles.
I'll give you an example,
Is that
Jared.
what you're afraid of happening to you in China if you eat the wrong thing?
Actually, no. I really hope that my ass is surrounded by noodles here in China. And I'll tell you, Jared. So
You stay regular?
So if you, this has nothing to do with pooping, Jared. I hate to burst your brown bubble there, but it has nothing to do with pooping. It's all about. So say, Jared, you're driving down the street in your 6'4", and you almost get sideswiped, and I'm in the passenger seat, and I say, "Man, our asses are surrounded by noodles. You know,
It's
we
like-
just missed an accident.
Like we're surrounded by idiots.
No, or
like,
maybe
it was like a it was like a near miss essentially. Like, oh, that was a close call.
what would we call, like, if you have a close call, you'd say, man, I'm really...
Oh, like lucky?
There we go. Exactly.
Your ass is
to be
surrounded
lucky.
by noodles is to be lucky. That's an interesting one. I like
It
that
is.
one.
That's why I picked that one. Yeah. Exactly.
All right. I'll do one more. Why not? Come on. It's also Hausa, and it's Fawa Bui Tana Bata Hanakin Kuda. Hanakalin Kuda, excuse me. And it means 2 pieces of meat confuse the mind of the fly. 2 pieces of meat confuse the mind of the fly.
Is this like you need to be focused on one thing?
No, for here's an example, quick example. I went to a restaurant yesterday, and there were a few specials, and they all sounded very delicious. But we had some time, and by the time the waiter got there, 2 flies. 2 pieces of meat confused the mind of the fly, and I was just frozen.
Oh, so you're overwhelmed with the decisions you have to make.
Yeah, exactly. You
Okay.
betcha. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Speaking of being overwhelmed with decisions, Chad, sometimes where to travel, when to travel, what to travel, and what to do, can be a little overwhelming. And I understand that. I've been in those overwhelming situations too, but I think you also you don't want to be so overwhelmed that you're freaking out and you don't actually enjoy your vacation, or you're overthinking about it or underpreparing for it. You could also do the complete
Absolutely.
opposite.
I agree completely. That's right. And if you're curious about when to travel, check out our episode on peak travel seasons.
Yes.
And what was it? Shoulder seasons,
Shoulder
right?
season. That's like in between like the transitions from off season to high season of tourist season. Yeah.
Exactly. You're right, though, Jared. I mean, there's so many aspects of travel that can make you feel overwhelmed. I think the act of traveling itself can be very exhausting, especially if you're traveling across like large time zone differences. And what one of my colleagues here, shout out to my friend Kelly, said to me, which I would agree with, is that for every hour of time change, it takes roughly about a day to overcome your jet lag. So when I came from the States to China, it was a 12-hour difference. I would say it took me easily over a week to get my body acclimated to the difference in time change. For me, I would go to bed super early and wake up super early, which was great. I was hoping to continue that. Jared called me out on it. Jared knows me better than I know myself, apparently, because I've been staying up till about midnight every night and getting up around 8 or 9.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But I remembered even before you went there, you were telling me about your plan. I was like, come on. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, you're here over summer in Dexter, waking up at 10:30 on the reg, and all of a sudden you're going to be just waking up at 5 a.m. every morning, eating breakfast, reading the newspaper.
Yeah, it didn't happen. Didn't happen.
You did, though, I think my first tip about, my first tip to maximizing your vacation or even time abroad if you're living abroad is to be prepared, but don't over prepare. So
Absolutely.
be prepared in the sense where it's like, you and I have talked a lot about enjoying wandering and enjoying, not having a firm schedule. But I think both you and I would agree that it's not a good idea to just have no plan of what you're going to do.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I think there needs to be a happy medium there, Jared, where you have maybe, what I would say is look at the things that you most want to do. Because if you just look at all of the tourist attractions, unless you're there for a very long time, or you're a very ambitious traveler where you can, go from when you wake up till, you go to bed, I would say it's important to think of the highlights. What do you most want to get out of your trip or your time abroad? I think this applies to both of them because Like Jared said, it can be very easy to be overwhelmed and overplan things for sure.
And I would also say on top of that, be flexible. Be willing to like drop a plan and be like
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like I just think like don't like at least when I do trips, like I'm never winning if I'm stressed out about, like I'm never enjoying it, or like it's never going well if I'm stressed out trying to like, you know, constantly checking my clock and being like, all right, where we have to go next? Are we going to be too late? Do we have to leave this place now because we have somewhere to be at this exact time? I hate that. I hate it.
Right. I would agree. And the other thing too about that, Jared, is I would say also when you can, try to pick things that aren't of serious, like it's a specific set time, because it can also be difficult to understand the timing of things. You know, how long it will take to get from here to here, how long it will take you to see everything you want to see. So if you plan on, okay, at 1 o'clock, we're going to go do this thing that starts at 1 o'clock. And then at 4 o'clock, we're going to do this other thing that starts at 4 o'clock. Unless you have been to this place before and really know your way around, I wouldn't necessarily suggest doing that. I would say maybe pick one activity where there's like a set time. Otherwise, keep it kind of open. You know, museums are great because you can go, you know, there's usually like at least an 8-hour window of when you can go visit a museum, for example. Whereas if you have to do a guided tour of a museum, they're usually only set at specific times.
It seems like you never had the sort of family vacation dynamic where there was like an itinerary printed out, or like an Excel sheet of like timetables and where like what they're doing. I wasn't in that family, but I definitely have seen that before.
Yeah, that's just not my style of travel, and probably because we never did that. But yeah, I mean, and the thing, like you said, the thing about an itinerary, although I would say it's definitely great to be organized, I think it comes a point when if you plan everything down to the last minute, for me, that's just not enjoyable. That's like I'm just following this plan down to the T. I think for some people, though, they might enjoy that. They might feel a sense of accomplishment of being able to do that. But once again, I think the key to really enjoying any vacation or time abroad is also be flexible and give yourself time to, you know, get off the beaten path. If you see something that catches your eye, you know, maybe there's something you didn't know about and you end up walking into like a really cool flea market. You know, if you have your itinerary planned down to the second and you're not willing to break off of that itinerary, I think you're losing some chances to check out some really cool stuff.
Yes, I have another one. I have more. We're just getting started here.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
Be a yes man. I think that goes along with what you're saying. We can move on from that one. I would say, now the obvious one. No, this is one I like. I'm going to skip the obvious one. We'll come back to the obvious one. This is one I really like. I thought of it myself. That's why I like it. And I'm a genius. Is start your vacation research with recommendations from people. I'm not saying don't do internet research. That's kind of avoidable. But I would say start off with recommendations from people that have been there. You know, maybe I think there's a good chance you could potentially find someone that's been to wherever it is you're going. And I find that I tend to get my best recommendations from people that have been there, especially since usually, you know, these people that are giving you recommendations are probably your friends of some sort, and you can relate to them in some sort. And
absolutely.
So that's what I always like to do, and I take those, I think, more seriously than your average, Yelp review.
Right, and the other thing is too, Jared, is with someone else's recommendations. A lot of times they know you, and they know what you like, what your interests are. And so I think that's what's really good. When you go online to find stuff, you know, it's really not clear who the audience was for the person that wrote this. So I would agree with that 100%. It's really good. And I would say another thing you can do is, if possible, try to meet some locals or meet people. You know, if you go to a hostel and you stay at a hostel, you'll probably be able to meet some people who have stayed there a couple days longer than you have and maybe have checked out some other cool stuff as well. So I think that's a great tip, is in-person recommendations.
Yeah. Now, do you have any, you're welcome to add some in here. This is just all me throwing in stuff here.
I just wanted you to give us some of your tips because you always have such great tips. But one that I would say too for maximizing your travel or your time abroad is also to really be willing to just try new stuff, right? And for me, that's something that comes without saying here in China because there's so much new stuff that I can't get in the West in general that I kind of have to. But I would say if you are traveling somewhere, be open and willing to try new stuff. You know, if you're only spending a few days somewhere, don't eat at McDonald's. Just don't eat at McDonald's. Don't eat at Burger King. You know, go to a local restaurant.
That's a good one.
And be willing to try new stuff. Also, down the same vein of trying new stuff, I would also say if you are going somewhere and you like collecting souvenirs or something, I would say don't go to some typical souvenir shop. But try to find like a local owned business where you can find maybe like a really cool like shirt in the traditional garb of wherever you'll be, or maybe you can find like some really pretty jewelry that's not just like this stereotypical what you'll find at like a tourist attraction kind of souvenir shop. Because I think that stuff, one, it's not very authentic, it's probably not very well made. And I would say it's better to try to support a small local business as well. And I've run into a couple really cool places here in China that I'll probably end up buying a couple little things to bring back with me to the States. So that would be one tip of mine is don't go to just the typical places that are right where all the tourists are.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they're made for. It's almost like an easy trap. It's like you fell for the easy trap, you fool.
Exactly.
I have another one, obviously. And it is don't obsess over trying to get the best pic for the gram. Now listen, I'm young. I get it. You know, the gram's important. Get some pics for the gram. But let's be honest. Like, how many do you need really? More than like 4 or 5? Listen, unless you have a podcast specifically that talks about travel called the Untranslatable Podcast, then never stop taking pictures. But in general, like, you know, who cares? Or it's like, I understand wanting to post pictures from your vacation. I get that. But like, yeah, how many do you need? Do you like? I have a bunch of pictures from previous vacations on my phone, and I'm like, what am I going to do with these? I want to delete them, but I know as soon as I do, I'm just going to be like, I could have used that for something. But I just scroll through a whole bunch of pictures. I was like, what are these here for? Who looks through old pictures? These are none. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
You don't go back there and look at them and get all nostalgic?
No.
Really? I do that all the time.
No,
all the time.
Sometimes I look through old Facebook pictures, I guess. Sometimes I do on Facebook, but it's been a while.
You know, Jared, it's really funny you mentioned that, though, because actually one tip I was going to give. Now, I don't think you need to take a billion pictures of the same thing so it's perfect for the gram. But one thing that I always realize that I regret, including now, is like I don't take enough pictures. So it depends on the person. Some people take pictures of everything and anything. I think you and I are both people that we don't take enough pictures. At least I know I don't. Like I've been here for almost a month, and I have maybe 20 pictures, if that. Probably not even 20. Well, here I can tell you right now. I guarantee you, I have less than 20.
I've seen
unless
like
we're
4,
counting screenshots.
I've seen 4, and one of them was literally a wall. So
yeah. So actually, of stuff in China,
Chinese characters.
Actually,
so
of stuff in China, let's see here. I have.
By the way, I share an Instagram with you. I've noticed that you've taken no pictures. Trust me, I've noticed.
So I have like random pictures
asking questions.
Like I have random pictures of like stuff on menus so I can show the person like what I want to order. I have more pictures of that than I do of like actual pictures in China. Pictures of like scenery in China. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have a picture of a bathroom with the character for men for the bathroom. That's a useful one. So 2, 4, 6,
Wait,
8,
so you
10,
have that picture so if
12.
you go to a bathroom, you know... With,
yeah, because not all of them have the symbols. Some of them only
Right.
have characters for
Okay.
the bathroom. So let's see here. Yeah, I have of scenery, I have looks like I have about 20 pictures, if that. Most of them are like pictures of appliances that I've sent to like a student who helps me with stuff, who will translate the appliances. Like I have this kettle that has all the stuff in Chinese. My washing machine, all the characters are Chinese. There's no English on there. So stuff like that. I have more pictures of that stuff, which in a way makes sense because it's stuff to help me live my day-to-day life. But I need to get better at just taking pictures of like scenery and stuff. But I also haven't explored China a ton yet just because I don't have my bank account set up here. So I don't have access to like pay stuff online yet. So like
My next tip about
ride-sharing
traveling...
apps. Yeah.
Don't make excuses. Another one is, well, I guess this kind of goes along with this actually. Disconnect from social media and your cell phone in general. One of my favorite things about when we studied abroad in Austria was that we were all, you could, like, they gave you a SIM card. Well, no, they didn't give you a SIM card, excuse me. They gave you a phone that you could use for the semester. And it was just like your basic sort of brick phone with nothing to do on it except for text, call, and Snake. All that matters. And
Wait, was there Snake on that?
no, I don't think so. Listen, just go along with it.
Okay.
Come on.
Fair enough.
I don't think there was Snake on it, but it was oddly freeing because there was sort of. I've never been in a place where I fully was disconnected from my cell phone like that, which is sad, I guess. But this is reality, you know. This is the reality we live in these days, and it's so nice to be able to not have the intrusion. And then once I was in, it didn't take long of having that phone where you don't even have that instinct to reach for a phone anymore. I think that's what I hate more than anything is just that instinct to grab like for your pocket if you're doing nothing. You know, you can't just sit there and not do anything for a second.
And plus, at the same time, when you are disconnected like that, I think you're able to soak up what's going on around you so much better. You know, you can get all the smells, you can get all the sights.
Yes.
Whereas, if you're just looking at your phone, it's like you can do that anytime when you're back home. I would agree with you.
You're not missing any fire
I think
tweets.
Exactly. They'll still be there when you get home. Don't be worried about FOMO or fear of missing out while you're gone. This is kind of piggybacking on what Jared said, where I think when you travel or when you live abroad, it's very important to try to be in the moment and really enjoy what you're doing. And I have difficulties with that here. Not so much when I'm out and about, because when I'm out and about, I still, even though I've been here almost a month, I still look like that goofy tourist, like gawking at everything, like, oh wow, it's so cool. Right. Some of it is because I'm trying to find new restaurants and find new places as well. But if I was always just down on my phone, trying to follow what's going on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, which has its own challenges in China for other reasons, but
that's a good point.
So I would agree with you, Jared. That's a great tip. I think it's so easy people are just attached at the hip with their phones. And so it's really important to not just always be on your phone. And the other thing too is I would say when possible, explore without using your maps. We've talked about maps off before. And I think that's a great way to find new places, find places that you probably wouldn't have run across otherwise. Because if you're just making a beeline to the destination where you're going, if you're using your phone, you might not take a wrong turn that might, that's how I found this really cool halal restaurant last night. I was just kind of walking around and I was like, oh, I'll try to go down this little corner here. And there it was. And so it's really important, I think, to be willing to just kind of explore and also be patient. And my other big tip that goes along with this is bring a good pair of walking shoes.
That's
whether
a good
they're
one.
sneakers or because I mean you do not want to be stuck not being able to explore because your feet are too sore because you decided it was a great idea to bring a pair of nice looking dress shoes because you wanted to be
Yes.
fashionable like all the European people, and then you can't walk around.
Bring those, but wear them when appropriate. Don't wear them during the day. Wear them, go back to your hotel or hostel before you hit the town at night. I have another one. Only travel with people you want to. I think that's important.
Absolutely.
Don't get stuck into trips with people you don't want to be with.
That's a great one, although
hurt
that
people's feelings too.
Right, that's a great
I guess you
tip,
should,
but I think you probably should if you want to make it a good experience for everybody.
Oh, I mean,
Now,
once
with that
you're
being
there,
said-
you're trapped. But
right. I mean, it really depends. If you are fortunate enough to make all the choices, then absolutely travel with whoever you want. But I would also say be careful of those group travel trips because one, it can be very. Oh, excuse me. It was a long yawn. Sorry. It can be very tricky.
Wow.
To be. Depending on how big your group is, it can be very difficult too feasibly to like plan stuff. If you have, I would say groups of 4 tend to be fine. 6, maybe.
I
would say
that does not sound enjoyable to me at all.
no. I mean, I would agree. I would rather travel with maybe 2 or 3 friends maximum, so that would keep us at 4. But the other thing is thinking about feasibility, right? If you have more than 4 people, really small sit-down restaurants may not have room for you. And that might be the best way to find some really, really good cuisine of wherever you're going. So I would say, too, it's easier, I would say, for a lot of logistical reasons to travel in smaller groups if possible. 2 people, 4 people. Then there's also less concern of if you have 6 or 8 people, you're probably going to have a lot of disagreements on what to do. Like, oh no, I want to go to this museum.
Yeah.
Well, I want to go see this opera or whatever. And it's
already a
logistically
bad
it's
trip
just
already. There
difficult.
you go. It's bad. And then even just trying to plan
Exactly.
meeting up together. No one wants to do that.
Right.
Don't bring your work with you if you can. Not everyone can do that, I guess. But if you
Right.
can,
True.
actually enjoy your vacation and use it, especially if you have your normal 9 to 5 that gives you time. Don't feel like you have to be on the clock because that is your vacation.
Exactly.
Another one I have is to be careful with like big expectations of trips. One, because these places, no matter how exotic they seem or whatever, you can go back. Like you don't have to see everything in one trip. And
Right.
sort of on top of that, not every trip has to be like extravagant, Like you don't have to not every trip has to be over planned. Not every trip has to be a big deal. I think that there's a lot of good tripping can be done. And not, oh, you tripping, but, oh, I'm going on a trip, we tripping. That kind of trip can be done in I'm not gonna say locally, but like closer than having to take planes or having to be on a
Right.
train for 8 hours or whatever. And I think people there's a lot of stuff around even where I have grown up here in Michigan where it's like I didn't realize how much cool stuff there was
absolutely.
within like even a day trip or something like that could be done.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing that I would add to that, Jared, is do the trip for you. Don't do the trip for social validation, for bragging rights. Do the trip for you. Really go and do what you want to see and what you want to do. If you're doing
Yeah.
something just because you see other people doing it and it looks cool, but there's a
Or
place
that's
you
where
would
everyone
rather go to.
goes. Like, oh, this
Right.
is where you're supposed to go when you go to Paris, so I'm going to go see the Eiffel Tower and the Mona Lisa.
Right. Exactly. And I would say that really try to think of what you want to do. Like 2 trips that I really want to go to. I would love to go to Memphis and Nashville, Tennessee, because I'm a big guitar and music nerd. And now those are obviously very popular ones, but another one that I'd love to go to for the music would also be Austin, Texas. And now these maybe aren't the best example because these three cities I think have a lot of tourists that go there. But like if you look at the grand scheme of things, I feel like people in the States tend to brag more about, oh yeah, I'm going to Europe, or something like that. Whereas if I'm like, I'm going to Memphis, people are like, okay.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to Memphis. I'm sure it's a great place, but
we're just
really
kind of
think
snobby with our vacations, I think.
Right. And to all those people who are snobs with their vacation,
it's for the gram. That's why. That's why people are snobby with it.
Exactly. But I would say at the end of the day, like, go to a place where, looking back, you'll be really glad you went. Don't go somewhere so you can be like, oh, I took some great pictures for the gram.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you a little secret. There's this thing called Google. You could go on Google and Google a picture and put it on your gram if you crop it properly. And there you go.
Another good thing about not getting caught up in these, like, quote unquote extravagant or sort of, big trips is that I think another important part of maximizing your trips is getting in the habit of doing it, like making it a sort of a budget item every year. If you make your budget every year, which I'm gonna be honest, I don't do, but I should. If make it a plan and get in, and that's why I think it's important to not expect extravagant or big trips, or you be like, well, it's not really a trip because I only took a 3-hour road trip to some place in Michigan and I just did this, where it's like, no, like get into the habit of doing stuff like that, and don't always feel like you have to save up hundreds or $1,000 to go to Europe or something like that, because
right.
I think the whole point of trips is not to stunt on people, but it is to just experience other cultures, and there are other cultures, everywhere. It just depends on how you look at it, I guess.
Absolutely. And another thing that I would add, Jared, would be sometimes it's really fun to set a challenge for yourself. Like, I've set a challenge here where I want to try something new, like food-wise here, every day I can, which is ideally every day. And so set challenges for yourself, small challenges, and have it be in a way so it's like, there's really no, if you aren't able to do a challenge for some reason, then it's no big deal. But sometimes it's fun to set those. I'm going to go explore this part of the town or the city today where I've never been. Or I'm going to go try to order something in the native language. Or I'm going to try to do this trip in under $200 or something like this. Sometimes setting these challenges can be fun and will change your perspective on travel as well. What you are able to do and not able to do. And I think that's the big thing of really kind of trying to stretch your travel to the limit is do things that you wouldn't always do. Maybe you're not an avid camper. Well, go take a 3-hour road trip to Ludington, Michigan and go camping.
I didn't camp, by the way, just to be clear, when I went.
That's fair. Or get a motel by the beach, one or the other. Or maybe you're not a great cook. Maybe it's not too expensive to take a cooking class for an evening on the local cuisine. Like, I would love to take like a cooking class.
I'm going to take a cooking class sometime soon. Actually, I've been talking about that recently. That's fun
either
for
or. Yeah, it doesn't
all
really matter.
levels of cooking.
Like, one thing I would like to do here, I still need to see if I can find the damn building, is there's a guitar school, or at least according to my Apple Maps, there's a guitar school within walking distance of my apartment. So I might see if I can.
What do you mean by a guitar building? Like, what can you do?
Guitar school.
What can you do in there, though?
Well, I'm going to see if I can either take lessons or find some people to play music with.
Oh. Okay.
So that's another thing, though, too, that I would say to maximize your travel is find some people, either people you travel with or people you meet at your location. Find people to do stuff with. Find people to play soccer with if you're into that. Find somebody to jam with if you're a musician. Find somebody to go out and have a drink with or have a bubble tea or whatever.
I mean, we talked about this on the sports episode, but like playing sports is a great way to experience another culture. whether playing or watching, but like it is at least I think personally it's a great way to experience another culture from my experience. And,
Absolutely.
And it's a great way to communicate with people that you might have trouble communicating with in some common language.
Right. And the other thing is, too, don't be afraid to try a new sport. Maybe there's a local sport of wherever you go.
Yes.
And don't be afraid to try it. And I think people a lot of times, unless it's a super competitive league match, if it's just a pickup game, on the streets or whatever, I think a lot of times people will be nice and they'll be helpful and they'll show you how to play. And it might also be a way to make some local friends, which is always useful, I think, whenever you travel somewhere or you live abroad.
Yeah, I would agree. Hey, I want to talk about this song.
Let's do
it. Who's this German Mac Miller you've put in front of me?
So his name is SDK. And I believe he's from Hamburg.
Okay.
And our song of the pod by SDK is called Gebrochenes Deutsch, which means broken German. And it's used in the same way that we would use the term broken English, where it's like someone, has some grammatical issues or there's missing vocabulary or whatever when they speak. And I've known about SDK for a while now. A friend of mine, a shout out to my buddy Kenny in Germany, he actually showed me a bunch of German rappers, and I was thinking about, what would be a cool song of the pod. And I love a lot of his music. His videos are really interesting as well. And
doesn't he sound like a German Mac Miller? He sounds very Kool-Aid and frozen pizza era Mac Miller.
Yeah, I guess so. You're right. I didn't think. See, now I associate Mac Miller more with swimming.
You sent me 3 songs too. I chose one. But yeah, he doesn't remind me of that album, but he reminds me of all his albums before that for the most part.
Right.
Especially some of the other songs he sent me. But I like this one because he talked about, what was he talking about? Can you explain that line about the French?
My internet's not working very well, so can you pull up the lyrics and say the German line to me?
Now I'm mad I brought it up.
While Jared's doing that, I'll describe some aspects of the song. So one of the reasons why I like it is it has a really cool, interesting piano intro, which is pretty sweet. And I really enjoy that. And I think the whole song talks about how he meets this girl from France, and she doesn't speak perfect German. Did you find the line?
Well, now that I'm reading it, I know what it is. But,
well, what's the line? Give it to me anyways. I'm curious.
Sie spricht gebrochenes Deutsch, aber fließend Französisch. So she speaks broken German, but fluent French.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. And you don't need to ask me about that anymore. But yeah.
Yeah. I just couldn't understand it when he said it.
Right.
And I never looked up the lyrics.
Right. And it's a cool song. It's kind of fun. I think the whole song kind of talks about like him meeting this French girl who doesn't speak perfect German.
Yes.
And he mentions that German's a hard language to learn, which I think for many people it most definitely is. I think learning any language in general is hard.
Yeah.
We don't give people enough credit.
I'm glad I picked this song because I think it kind of does tie into our theme of maximizing your vacation. You meet someone maybe on vacation. And it's a sort of a fling thing, and you guys, can't speak the same language, but you make it work. I would dare to say now, I might be speaking out of school, but you might have had some situations like that in your day, and they do seem like they are sometimes can be like highlights of a vacation because you've maximized.
Oh, absolutely. It. I was actually going to ask you if you experienced that.
Have I experienced that? Yeah, I went on a Disney cruise when I was like maybe in 3rd or 4th grade, and I made some neat friends back then. Nice.
I mean, I definitely had a couple flings when I was in Germany over the last, would have been 2015 and 2016. And you're right, though. It's really cool. I was able to check out some really cool spots, especially in Berlin when I was there. Because of a couple girls I met. So yeah, most definitely. You're right. It's very apropos to our topic.
As I said before, once something like that happens, you kind of have to be a yes man and let go of sort of control of the night a little bit and be like, well, let's see where this takes me. And that's all I got. Yeah. I like the song.
You're right, though. You're right.
You've been. Do you enjoy? You seems like you enjoy German hip hop. You've been throwing me some German hip hop recently. I like it. I'm not complaining, but I've just been noticing.
Love German hip hop. I love anything German related in general, but
That's
I
true.
think German hip hop's really cool because it's funny. A lot of people say German sounds ugly and blah blah blah, but if you really learn the language, it's a very poetic language, and there's a lot of really cool rhyme schemes just because of endings of German words.
It is very
there's-
easy to rhyme in German. I would not
Right.
for me but like in general, I can imagine that being very easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that there's so many German words that have the same endings, right? You have
Right.
endings of words like height and kite, which rhyme. You have words with ung,
Shine.
shine, sein. Let's see, what are some other words?
Ung,
That end in
UNG,
ein.
like Bildung.
Right.
Or
Right. There's also, of course, we can't think of them. Zeitung is another one.
well, yeah, that's what I just said. UNG.
Yeah.
Or EN, anything that ends in EN.
Right. And that can be the infinitive of a lot of all verbs.
Yeah.
So sprechen, brechen, those two rhyme. But yeah, so German works really well. The whole point for
Those
this
two do rhyme.
is
There's also
German.
thousands of those examples.
Right, exactly. And I really like SDK, the way he raps, the way he rhymes is really interesting. You're right, though. In
Yeah.
a lot of ways, I guess he is kind of like a German early Mac Miller. I never thought about that, but you're totally
Yeah.
right.
I definitely got some, of like that, some earlier albums.
Right,
And,
and the
not
album
a bad
that's
thing. I mean,
on-
I liked
Right.
Mac Miller back then. I like him now.
Right.
Well, I like his new album too. Is what I meant to say. I
Yeah,
guess.
Swimming's probably one of my favorite ones by Mac Miller now.
Same.
But I think that comes off the album Auf Entspannt. I could be wrong, but if it comes off that album, that whole album is great. Check that out by SDK, and it will be
I'll
on our
check it
YouTube channel, Untranslatable Podcast.
You betcha.
And we hope you enjoy. And we hope that this will give German maybe a different reputation. Like it's
Yeah.
not as ugly of a language as a lot of people. People think it's an angry and ugly language, and I would have to
No,
disagree.
come on,
Any
come
language sounds ugly and angry if you yell. Doesn't matter what the language is.
Exactly.
Does not matter at all. So that's our song of the pod.
Yes.
Now, Jared, I'm going to have you do a Spanish word of the pod before I get to my Chinese word of the pod for today.
My Spanish word of the pod, and I want to see if you can guess this one, is espiritu viajero.
The spirit of a hero?
Viajero is not of a hero. That's a travel. Viajero.
Oh, viajar. Okay.
But espiritu so that's the literal translation. This is actually kind of a late untranslatable a little bit. So
Okay.
espiritu viajero is, I guess, technically the spirit of travel, but we have here in English at least a little bit more of a succinct way to say that.
Okay.
You might find it in a lady's Bumble or Tinder profile often. The spirit of travel.
Clearly.
The spirit of travel. I have the spirit of travel. I want to
Oh, that's
get out
the
and see
travel
the
bug?
world. No, it's wanderlust.
that's fair.
Wanderlust.
A wanderlust. Duh, I should have known.
You're really striking
Should've
out
known.
today, Chad. You
I
didn't
am.
get gullible. You're not.
Right.
Am I losing you? What's happening right now?
Who knows? Who knows, Jared? Who knows? Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? But anyways, my Chinese word of the pod today is Mao Xian, which means adventure. Because I think in order to maximize any trip or time abroad, you have to be willing to go on adventures and try new things.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But an adventure does not mean, sorry to cut you off, Jared, an adventure does not mean that you have to do something crazy. I mean,
Right.
maybe if you haven't laid out on the beach for a while, go have a beach adventure, just chill. You know,
Yeah.
adventure, make it your own adventure.
That was kind of the adventure for me when I was in Ludington because I don't dislike the beach, but like if I'm doing a vacation, that's not never really going to be my choice. But like when my goal, as something I actually never really do, was to actually have like a relaxing vacation, and I'm like, well, what you do when you relax is you do nothing. So I'm actually going to challenge myself to allow myself to lie on the beach for hours without feeling like, where am I gonna, like, what's next?
Oh, absolutely. But let's be honest, the real adventure for you, Jared, was probably getting the sand out of everywhere.
Yeah, that was really rubbing my feet and legs for 15 minutes after I got back to the room.
Right. Absolutely.
How is there sand here?
Right. Well, Jared, I would say that I'm actually going to make that the quote to wrap up today's episode, is your time abroad or your travels, make it your own adventure, whatever that may be for you.
Yes.
Whether that be try all sorts of new things, which I would say is a great idea. Also, though, too, just don't be afraid to relax. Don't be afraid to do something outside of the box that you haven't always done. And I think that will really help you maximize your trip or your time abroad. What do you think, Jared?
I agree. It's all about maximizing that and figure out, that can change. My next maximization of a trip might not be the ultimate relaxing trip. Honestly, it most likely won't be. Figure out what that is for you and make it happen, baby. Come on. Get out there, do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
As Shia LaBeouf says, do it. Just do it.
Yes.
That's right.
Oh, that's great.
Gotta do the arm thing as well. But yeah. So we hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I apologize for my gullibleness today or lack of wherewithal.
No, come on. I'm sorry. I'm just messing with you. You've been great. It's always great talking to you.
But we hope you've enjoyed this episode. And if you have any additional tips on how to maximize your travel or your time abroad, especially time abroad, please let me know, because I'm trying to definitely make the most of my time here in Jinan. So let us know at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Peep our gram for some travel pics and some clips, Untranslatable Podcast.
Brilliant.
Check out our YouTube channel, Untranslatable Podcast, for any videos of our beautiful faces, when the internet works okay here in China and we're not lagging and buffering every other minute. And also to check out our Song of the Pod playlist. Check out Gebrochenes Deutsch by SDK. We hope you enjoy it. And lastly, please 5-star reviews on iTunes and
Spread
Stitcher.
A little love.
Let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. So we hope you've enjoyed. We thank you all for your support. It means the world to us. And as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Děkujeme, muchas gracias, and 谢谢.